Hi everyone, Dr. Sonya Jensen here, and today we're going to be talking about hot flashes. So some of you listening, or probably all of you listening, either know somebody or have experienced these hot flashes yourself, or maybe it's your partner that you are witnessing going through this rush of heat that is really hard to control in the moment. So today what we're going to do is talk about the different causes for hot flashes and also some of the different things that we can start implementing today to either prevent them or to deal with them and to recognize what they can lead into in the future. So there's a hormone that not a lot of us associate with hot flashes, and that hormone is insulin. So as you know, as soon as we eat, our glucose goes up, and then insulin has to go up to drive that glucose back into the cells so that the cells can utilize it. If it stays too long in the bloodstream, it starts to cause other issues like blood sugar dysregulation, which in the future can lead to diabetes. And that's something that we don't want because it's very preventable. So the reason why that happens, there's different reasons for it. One is if we're eating too much too often. The other, if there's high toxicity levels. And then it's the quality of the food that we're eating as well. So looking at those different factors and looking at the fact that maybe we're eating, the average North American will eat 15 to 20 times a day. So every time we're eating, we're spiking that glucose, we're spiking the insulin. And over time, the pancreas gets tired. And the cells, the receptivity of the cells becomes more or less sensitive to the insulin. So now it can't do its job properly. And that may be due to different toxicities, that may be due to different stresses in the body, whether it's infections, but all of that commotion that's happening in the body will cause insulin resistance, which will then contribute to hot flashes. And the other thing that we don't always think about when it comes to hot flashes is the amount of leptin that's in our body and leptin resistance. So leptin is a hormone that's produced by the gut after we've eaten so that it can give a signal to our hypothalamus in our brain that we're satiated, we don't need any more food, and we've stored enough fat, so there's no reason to eat anymore. But if there's been some insulin resistance, and if we're not listening to these cues and these signals for various different reasons, that leptin also, there's leptin resistance that gets created in the body. The third hormone that is actually produced by fat cells is called adiponectin. And adiponectin, again, is produced so that we can control our glucose levels and we can control fatty acid metabolism. And this hormone is regulating our system to communicate better, which will then regulate our hormonal system. So as we age and we're moving into perimenopause and menopause, estrogen tends to start to decline. And this is the good estrogen, the one that was there for us when we're menstruating, maybe having children, and gives us that elasticity in our skin and also in our cardiovascular system. It's also really great for our bones, so lots of different functions. But that estradiol, so that specific estrogen, will decrease, and we will now have more estrone in our body, which doesn't have the same effects. It does to a certain degree, but not as much. So as estrogen declines, our other hormones like cortisol, more of like the hormones that break the body down, will increase. And as cortisol increases, insulin also increases. Again, insulin is a hormone that's going to break the body down, not build it up like estrogen and progesterone and testosterone and all these other hormones, and DHEA will. So DHEA is considered to be our anti-aging hormone. It has a reverse or it has a relationship with cortisol in a sense that when cortisol goes up, DHEA goes down. And DHEA is in control of estrogen and testosterone, which is there for us for our lean muscle. So as you can see now, we have this story of a natural decline in our estrogen, which will naturally increase some of our stress hormones to get our adrenals ready to take over for our ovaries. And as that transition is happening, hot flashes can show up because of these different signaling mechanisms that aren't getting what they need, depending on our diet, our lifestyle, and our ability to manage stress. So what are some things that you can do? One, manage stress. whether it's through meditation, yoga, dancing, working out, using your body, using some tools that are going to allow you some space to really work on that parasympathetic nervous system to bring that cortisol down. Because cortisol isn't bad, we need it, but we need it in moments, not 24/7. So that's going to be number one. Number two is eating less often. You can eat as much as you were eating before, but eating less often in a shorter window. There was a study done with women that were post breast cancer treatment, and they were just eating in a 12-hour window. That's all they did. That's all they changed, 12 to 12 and a half hours, and they had a 37% reduction in relapse afterwards. So it really does help create that extra sensitivity in those receptors we were talking about, so that the insulin can actually bind, the leptin can bind, the adiponectin can bind, so the signaling and the communication in the body is appropriate. So first, stress. Two, looking at intermittent fasting and shortening that window down, and working with a practitioner, so you can maybe even implement some block fast and those kinds of things. And the third one would be detox. So if our cells have toxicity around them, it's really hard to get that communication from the hormones. And the more toxic you are, the more intense hot flashes. The more insulin resistant you are, the more intense the hot flashes. So there's been studies done to actually show that correlation. They took 150 women, or 151, and they split them up in 3 different groups. There was a group that hadn't experienced hot flashes yet, a group that had mild to moderate, and a group that had really severe hot flashes. And they noticed in the mild to moderate and the severe had insulin resistant, leptin resistant, and they had low adiponectin. So the ways to increase adiponectin in our body is to eat more fat, eat good fats. So eat olives, eat nuts, eat avocado. So these things will actually increase the adiponectin in our fat cells, so it can then control our blood glucose. To summarize again, you want to make sure you are working on your stress regulation, you are eating an anti-inflammatory diet with really good fats in it, and eating in a tight window. And the third one is working with somebody to detox, so you can detoxify those cells to make sure that all these nutrients, these hormones actually have a home to land in, so that we can create communication. So that will not only prevent hot flashes, but it will reduce them and maybe even eliminate them. So if you have any other questions about hot flashes or hormones or fasting, please write them in the comments, and have a great day.